Thanks, Sue. And thank you everybody for inviting me to speak today and for taking time to come and listen to what we're doing. We have a harvesting system, a hand harvesting system that we started working with about 4 years ago, and it's evolved quite significantly since then. The aim of the business was to try and solve some of the problems of managing outdoor labour, a bit of a nightmare for lots of organisations. What we found was that process requirements for many people varied a lot, and we needed to come up with a system which we've gradually evolved, which was essentially configurable. So I'm just going to take you through. This is my demo system I'm showing you now. It's called Fancy Fruits because we thought nobody would call their business Fancy Fruit. That might not be true, but so far we're okay. And what I'm going to do is just try and show you a bit about the system and how it works. So it's a multi-site system. So it's designed for anything from a small farm up to a multi-site operation with multiple farms for each site. So we have a site setup function here where we can say, here are the sites, and I've got 4 sites here. A site might have many farms, but that's going to share labour, and that's how we work. So it's a really simple process to create a new site, but I'm not going to worry about that too much for now. And under each site, we have a list of farms, and I can just limit what I see. If I put Tassie in here, then it'll only show me the Tassie farm. A real user wouldn't have these sorts of complications because a real user would have a more limited view of what is being seen. But I've got a sysadmin login here, so I see everything. So for each farm, we store block data. So again, I'm just going to search for that. I'm just going to search for Vanderburg, and it helps if I spell right. And it's just going to select all the Bundy ones so I can see what all the block numbers. You can call the blocks what you like, as long as they're all unique. Most people number their blocks sequentially, but they also have nursery blocks or R&D blocks or extra things like that. We just need to know what the farm map is. So the major setup really is setting up the sites and the farms, which doesn't take long at all. And I'll just show you how easy it is to add something. If I click on this add button, it just says, well, which site are you adding to? I can say I'm adding to Tassie. Which farm, there's the farm, and then I can just add a block. I'm not going to bother to do it now, but it literally takes 5 minutes to set up blocks and say what the crop on it is. At the moment, we're storing the crop, and we're also with single crop farms, we actually don't put the crop, we put the variety on there. So what's the purpose of all this? Well, we want to be able to create jobs. Essentially, the whole business of this, the whole driver of our system is jobs, and we create jobs every day. I'm just going to limit this to the Tassie site, which would be normally what you'd see if you were working on it. I've got a number of different types of jobs. So the system is actually driven by workflows, and each job has its own workflow, and we can vary or create new workflows all the time. So, for instance, I might want to grade what we're picking in the field, and I can do that, and I can put pick counts in on the touch screen by actually talking in the field. What was the word I wanted? By choosing what grade to pick. So I'll show you that in a minute on the scanner. I can scan a container. So if I want to scan a picker, actually scan a bin or a tray or a lug or anything, I can do that too. So if I want to have traceability back from where that was picked, that's one of the ways I can do it. I can pick hourly or on piece rates. I can have no container at all scanning, so I'm just going to scan the picker, and when I do that, that'll just make a count towards the picker's progress. And the last one here, I can just record a manual weight. So or an automatic weight. I haven't got scales here with me at the moment, but we can also, with a weight pick, record the weight direct off the scales. So I'm very conscious that we've got half an hour to talk about this, and I want to show you as much as possible, but please feel free to ask me questions while I'm talking. I don't mind being interrupted, and if there's something that I've skimmed over that you'd like to know more about, just let me know. So we obviously need, before we can do jobs, we need people to do them. So we have what we've been calling crew. We're trying to just experiment with different terminology, which turns up in my test system here, my demo system all the time. I have the capacity to just enter staff. I can create a new staff member very quickly. Just click there and it brings up the form. Again, I'm not going to bother to do that unless you want me to, but all I have to do is say, here's the site that I'm going to create, that first name, last names. We encourage sites to use a unique staff number, because if they do that, they can roll through and select and reuse badges. They're not relying on the picker number to be unique, then they can reuse it, but they do need a unique staff number. Employee type, are they contractor, are they employee casual or employee permanent? How are they paid, is it hourly rate or piece rates, which can change, obviously. And then selecting a picker badge, an available badge number. And because we reuse them, this allows you to see what's currently available for allocation. So we're constantly skimming through with new with badges being released when people leave and being reused. Everybody doesn't reuse them. Some people only reuse them once a year. And we have this concept of effective date because we know that some people will get people working before in the field before they've been given a badge number. So we have to allow for that. So if you want people to get going, that you can do their induction, give them a badge, and you can record them their work, and that number will come up as no staff assigned until you fix it. And you'll see that in my reports on here because there's quite a few. So I have two sets of tags. We store all of these RFID tag numbers. These all get preloaded in the system. We have what we call control cards, and we have crew cards. Crew cards are for the people who are doing maintenance work or picking, and the system has a concept of supervisors who have access to the system on the scanners, so they can use those cards to log on outdoors, because we don't really want people to have to put passwords in and things like that when they're working outside in a hurry. So all of the access to the scanning process is by control cards. Or we're just working now on pre-registration in the system, but that's because we have a new citrus solution, well, a tree crop solution that we're just announcing this week, which I might tell you a little bit about as we go through it. So that's all the background. It's quick to do, it's easy to change and maintain, and it builds up you can see who's active and who's not. So the first thing that we would do every day is create jobs. And I've got some jobs here. I'm just again going to filter this with Tassie. I've got some jobs here. These are different sorts of jobs. Weight pick, no container pick, difference. They've all got different workflows. These are confirmed. This one has been marked as ended in the field, but not marked as finished. I can just click on this F and that one will disappear. And that's going to go into just saying, yeah, that's all done and dusted. We don't need to do any more. And that's just going to get finished and it will go off that screen soon. And it goes off, because this is filtered for active jobs, it goes off to storage. So I can go and see old jobs if I want to. It hasn't updated yet, but it will. I can go and see old jobs if I want to. I can reopen them, but I only see what's current here. We also have a heap of maintenance style jobs for all sorts of work. So I might show you that first. And I happen to know I've got data here for the 3rd, so I'm going to just work on the 3rd. Again, I'm just going to work in Tassie. So I didn't show you these jobs, but this is what happened on the 3rd. All these have been closed and finished and archived, but I can still see the data for them. In fact, I can see data as far back as I want to because the system stores it year on year. We don't make distinctions about how far back you can go. We just make some restrictions about how much data you can see at a time. So these are lots of crop work on a berry farm, summer tip pruning, cane, crop spraying, data entry, all sorts of different types, admin, anything that you might want to capture labour hours or some kind of activity that might relate to a piece rate if you want to, can be set up as a job in the system and reported on and capture the labour for. It really is a question of how much you want to control your work. I'm going to put that, and the other thing that we can do is we can report on attendance. So we can say, well, who was here? We've got 37 staff in this farm, and who was here? So this is telling me that Florentino was there on the 3rd, started at 6 and finished at 3:30, did 9.5 hours, and it will tell me if they had a lunch break. So that's how many hours were involved. We're not updating the paid hours on the attendance job at the moment. That column's there, but we don't use it. What it's telling me is a snapshot of that. I might want to go back and say, well, that's a bit weird. How come he did that many hours? Who's managing the commitments to working within certain hourly limits? Did we mean to pay overtime? But this attendance is really just to tell you primarily who's on site. You can scan into this job, and if you do, it will say here's when attendance started and when it ended. But if you don't, it will pick up the activity from other jobs that this person has done and show you their total hours. So it's a summary of everything, and it just shows you. I can filter for who's active. So if I click on active, it will get rid of all those blank lines and just show me who's currently on site. And we're working on another report that actually shows you when people have worked over the last 2 weeks. So you can see who hasn't been turning up and who you might want to archive. So maintenance is relatively straightforward. Attendance is relatively straightforward to capture. We generate that job every day. But really, most people are interested in picking and what you see out of picking. So I'm just going to go and look at a job analysis. So our main way of seeing that is through the either job analysis or through summary picks for the day. But I'm going to just start with the job analysis, just having to move this screen around so that I can click on this. Oh, no. It's one I wrote down, which one would be worth having, maybe. I did. Just looking for the job with some good data in it, which I think is this one, because this is just a demo system that we generate all the time. So it never works when you want it to. So here's a typical job, not a typical job, there's not much happening on that one. Let's see if I can find one with a bit more going on. There we go. Now you can see, again, because this is just a demo, I haven't gone through and given all the pickers names. So because they haven't been named, it says no staff assigned. If I go and allocate that badge to a picker, it will come up here and show. It tells me when they started and when they finished. So they worked 23 minutes on this job. It tells me how many trays they picked, but I could also call that buckets. You'll see this being a demo system again, we've deliberately used different language. It says buckets, it could say lugs, it could say bins. It's very easy for us just to configure the terminology. It tells me, importantly, how many trays per hour, how many minutes per tray, and what the total weight is if it's weighed. And if it's not weighed, these ones are weighed. They're capturing this weight off the scales. But if it's not weighed, we would generate that as a nominal weight. So some people might say, we pick into, we've just been working with some cherry pickers this year who say we pick into a nominal 8 kilo lug. We don't weigh them, we just count 8 kilos as long as they measure right with the capacity. So we would put the weight on there so that you're actually seeing what the estimated weight coming through is for this job. And you can also see some information about the crew performance. Now, crew performance may not be very exciting when they only did a 20-minute job, but it might get more exciting when they do more, or it might get more interesting when we look at that for the day and see how the crew perform. So this is the whole day. Just refresh that so I get the totals. And that is saying, well, we picked 1,400 trays this day, and we've got 2,000 kilos of fruit. So it's quite a lot of blueberries, really, for a quiet day. 74 people. And I can see easily on here, looking at what the weight people picked, what their minutes per tray were, how many trays per hour. And I can sort that, and I can see maybe picker 145 didn't pick anything, but 54 didn't pick anything. There's a couple of people here who seem to have been given cards to work, scanned in, but didn't do anything. And then I've got some low performing people. And if I go into here, I can see who my high performing people are. So I'd be definitely thinking about giving Jack a bonus, and possibly Albert too, if I'm picking, but depending on how I decide to work with the new piece rate regulations. But the point really is, the sooner I find out about my poor performers, the sooner I can take action and have a chat with them, or encourage them, or provide training, or essentially maybe decide that they need to move on, because there's only so much that you're going to be able to afford if you've got very, very poor performers in a normal environment. Bear in mind, this is test data, but if I really did have somebody that was only managing to do half the rate of my best people, I'd be worried. So those are the basic reports. All our reports export to Excel. I can just do that. The only limiting time factor in doing that is opening Excel. It's very fast to export, as you just saw. And that means you can feed it into your own pivot tables and your own records. We use it for pack house labor as well. We use it for maintenance work, and we use it. We can record breaks, so we also provide a sort of all-encompassing, this is everything that happened that day report. And we did this for a client who asked us just to produce a complete rundown of everything that everybody did that day. It's not beautifully formatted because they just export it to Excel. So what they wanted was this really busy, in fact, there are more columns. We create the report and then they can export everything to Excel. And that means that they can use they've got all their data for the whole day, where they want it to be able to manipulate it how they see fit. Obviously, we don't expect everybody to export everything to Excel. Our system's designed to help as it is. So what we're working on at the moment, which is a piece rate calculator, and we're just at the last stage of the design of this to work out whether it's going to work for everybody or whether we're going to have multiple versions. So this is saying these are all the people that picked this day. Again, we've got the same trays per hour, it's the tray, weight in kilograms. And these are all the piece rate people. It's not picking up the hourly rate staff. And it's just showing what the rate will be. So the idea is you can decide whether you want to remove the top 5 as a count, or you can remove a top percent. You can say, I want to remove the top 10%, whatever you want, or you can remove a count. And the same, you can remove the bottom ones, and then you can proceed to calculate the piece rate. So this isn't finished. I can't show it to you working today. It's with the designs done. We're just still testing the calculation. But it will, if we put a rate in here, the way it's going to operate, the way it is, it will then calculate all of the payments. We're just changing it, which is why it's not working, to allow for moving the people who've come under the minimum hourly rate onto, it will then change them to nominate them to be hourly paid for the day. And it will also allow you to save the piece rate. So there's a bit of iteration going on with the new laws that we've had to change. So that's the back end of the system. It's quite a powerful reporting engine. It's very quick. The data comes through as long as your people who are scanning, or the data from the farm or orchard is got data cover, it comes through almost immediately, and it's high visibility for your growers. The feedback we've had is that it helps growers plan their work. It helps them see what's happening out in the field much quicker than they normally would. So they can look at this and say, okay, that's the summary for the day. I can see what's happening. I can see how much fruit we're getting in. If we're grading in the field, I can see, I don't know if I've got some, yeah, I have got some grading. So if I'm grading in the field, I can see what grade I'm getting. Am I getting our best quality? Am I getting seconds? Are we picking for particular contracts where we're actually putting the grade in as we pick? So if we're doing all of that, then we can see, and we can get on, if we're getting a lot of seconds coming in, they can get on the phone and start organizing sales for that. If they can see the volume coming in, they can start organizing transport early. If they're trying to pick a particular variety and they've picked enough, they can move on to a different place and say, we don't need any more of that variety. We need you to go and move on to the other. So it's working really effectively, and we're getting good feedback about how the crew analysis is helping people understand. I'm going to just show you what we did for our cherry client this year. So they had, I'm just going to go in for one day and show you their summary for one day. I'll just go back a few days because they're not picking anymore. So they asked us to put color teams in. And so what we've done that isn't showing up in our test system is, so that'll just take a minute to warm up because I haven't been in this site for a while. So the first time you go and ask for a report, it takes a little while for it to load. But so I'm just, what we did for them was put color teams in because they wanted to keep teams separately. So they don't pick, they only pick cherries, obviously, but they pick different varieties. So they have a breakdown on their report of the variety, and also what color team the crew were in. So they break them up into teams and show who was in what team and how the different team work. So if I want to, I can sort by team or I can filter by team, but I can just see here's all the blue team, how are they working? And I can see who's been the best performer there and who has been the worst performer if I want to. So, okay, that's the background of the reporting. Obviously, the reporting has to be set up for the particular fruit and the particular way of picking. So we've got lots of different job types. But it all depends on effective operation in the field and what process you use to pick fruit. And that's one of the things that we've been learning over time. So, and it also depends on some kind of capture in the field. So most of our capture, I might just turn my screen. Has anybody got any questions before I turn the screen off? You've all been very quiet, but I'm starting to run out of energy, not having anyone to talk to.
Any questions to Henrietta?
No? Well, there's lots more people there now. But okay, so I've just turned my screen off because I want to show you how we capture the data on the scanner. So there's nothing very difficult about this. We use a rugged scanning device. We recommend heavy duty ones. They cost about $1,000 each, but if you use your own mobile phone, it won't last long out there. It's just, this one is running on Android, this version, and we're just building a cross-platform. We're just building a new version, which will be cross-platform, which doesn't actually use much scanning. It's going to be a messaging system that pickers can use themselves. And we're doing that for tree crops and citrus, particularly we've partnered with a citrus grower that we've met. And we're doing that particularly because they have quite an independent sort of picking group and not close supervision, whereas the cherry growers, the berry growers, they all have quite tight supervision out in the orchard, in the farms, and they're basically doing the counting electronically all the time. But the citrus growers, they just have asked us to do this because they want their pickers to be able to say when a bin is full and notify the driver of the tractor to come and empty it. So we're just developing some nice cool solutions for any tree crop we think where pickers are fairly much independent. So, and it links back into our reporting. So the reporting you've just seen is all integrated into that. So this is just how we log in. We've got a tag, and when I do the tag, you may not see that very well, but this is just showing the list of jobs available for this card, this control card for the day. So all the jobs that are active will show, but other ones won't, and jobs for other people won't show. So with those color teams I was telling you about, that really showed the job you only see the jobs for your color team. If you're the blue team leader, you won't see any others. Once I do that, I can get into a job, and when I do that, it will just ask me to scan in again, just to prove that I'm still got a supervisor there. And then I can scan a person. And it's just saying scan crew. And when I scan the crew, I can do various things. I can record a start time for that crew member. I can record a leave time. So I'm just going to record a start time, and it asks me to confirm it. It's as quick as that. And then I can swipe across, and all these menus are really easy with swipe screens. And this is harder to show on. And I can scan in again. And this one is a grading. It says select the product. So it's asking me on the touch screen to say, well, what product have you got? And I'm saying, oh, I've got my best grade, which is fancy fruit. And it says enter the punnet count. I've just said 9. I've hit enter. And it's just added the total to that. Now it's saying non-assigned. It hasn't got a name here because I didn't actually assign a crew member to my badge. But if I had, it would show me the person's name, and it's constantly showing me the running total. And if somebody else is scanning in the system, providing we've got data cover and it's uploading, which it should do in most places, but it isn't always. But as long as it is, then you've got the total aggregated between different scanners. So it's set up to allow for multiple supervisors managing the teams, or no supervisor at all. Now I'm aware that I'm running over time, so I don't want to wreck your good timetables. So, has anybody got any questions about this that I could address, or any thoughts you'd like to share with me about what I've shown you?
Me? Sorry. Henrietta, you don't get rid of me.
How are you? No, I saw you there, but you weren't there before. So.
No, I was late. Sorry. I really like the integration with the piece rate. I think that will be really useful, especially for our growers. And I think the more it gets bandied around with other industries, hopefully some of ours will actually pick it up and go, oh yeah, we do like this. Because I mean, from a COVID safe plan, it ticks that off because you know where people are, you have them logging in, you log in, have them logging out. You get your economic benefit analysis, basically, you know, how much they pick, and you can predict how much goes to the shed. And if you get that wages sorted as well, that'll be awesome. And then, you know, if you want to get rid of people because they underperform, you have all that data at hand without too much work involved by yourself, and you've just got it there. And each year, then you can go back and see how many people you needed, maximum or minimum. And I think it's just, I think it's a lovely little system, and it's a DER factor, but it's just getting growers to pick it up is most probably the issue.
I think since the Fair Work decision has had a timetable set on it, I think
28th of April.
Yeah, I think that has certainly made people sit up and think about, well, what are we going to do? There's two things that we're working on. We're working on setting up a piece rate calculator that's going to work for different people, so there's a bit of flexibility in it. And we've actually got developers now setting up supplier records so that you'd be able to generate your own your recipient created tax invoice for the supplier, so that you can tell the supplier what you think that you owe them. But the other side of it is that some people are saying, well, we're probably going to pay hourly rate now, but we'll work on a bonus system. So the other version of that piece rate calculator would be actually an hourly rate calculator, a bonus calculator that would say, look, these are all the hourly rate people, but we want to pay a bonus for our top people, or we're going to have some sort of incentive.
Yep.
And that's what people are talking about around the traps now, which has made us rethink something else. I'm also really pleased about this citrus solution because that we've just been working with a group called English Citrus in Bury, and they've come up with an idea that we're working with them on, which is just to allow pickers to, as I say, to message in. So we'll register, we won't be scanning. We'll be working with pickers' own phones, which means we have to be very innovative about how we make our app work so that we can, it's a GPS-based system, so they can find the full bin, so the drivers can find the full bins, but we still have the same control of knowing who picked what and where. So our system will still have that traceability. So that's something that we've actually started work on in the last couple of weeks since we got the green light. We're getting out and looking for citrus growers who are interested in being part of a beta group for that, or any tree crop grower actually, because it just bins that and picking teams. And the other thing I should have mentioned, and I didn't, but thank you, Jen, for reminding me, is that although I'm talking about RFID tags, we can actually, the system is set up to seamlessly move between RFID, UHF, QR codes and barcodes. So we can read and process them all, and we can actually interact between different ones. So you can have a system where the picker wears a badge, is scanned in on the badge because that's quick, but actually you're reading barcodes as well at different times, because these scanners are just so wonderfully flexible that we can just switch to barcode with just pressing a button, and the system holds all the data in a way that knows that that barcode is the same as that picker badge. So there's some clever things, there's some smarts behind the scenes that work quite well, and it makes it easy for growers when we work with them to work out a model that can work for them, which is, I think, important. Everyone has their own process and they love it, and we don't want to get in the way of that.